Welcome to another episode of Joint Discussions. We are thrilled to welcome Cortland Rock. He's a multifaceted cannabis professional whose journey has taken him from the heart of patient care at Netta Dispensary over at Brookline to his strategic roles at Curaleaf and Pedalfast. His unique blend of experiences from providing compassionate services to patients to driving growth in the cannabis industry showcases his deep commitment to advancing in the field. Join us as we delve into Cortland's journey, exploring the intersections of cannabis culture, professional growth, and his insights into the nuances of cannabis marketing and brand development. Appreciate you coming down, my boy.
Thank you for having me. Damn, you hyped me up there.
Absolutely, man. You got to, man. You got to big everyone up that comes on the show, man. That's what we want to do. We want to highlight our guests here.
I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you again, man. So, we first met back in the day. Last year, it was July 10th. It was the first time I even realized that 710 was even like a thing. Yeah. If for those who don't know, tuning into the show, 710 upside down reads oil, so it's kind of like the counterpart to 420, right? Instead of the celebration of flower and cannabis in general, 710 is a celebration, I guess, of concentrates, right?
Dabs.
So at the time, Cortland was working with Curaleaf, who happens to be the
select grassroots, the brand within the brand,
a host of portfolios of goods you're probably familiar with, and they're actually the largest weed retailer in the country. And I was working for Curaleaf at the time, third party, as a field representative. And Cortland and I had the opportunity to meet him there, and we both shared some concentrates and got extremely high. Shout out to Weed Maps. It was a Weed Maps party.
Weed Maps party, yep. Shout out to Grassroots and Curaleaf,
too. Shout out to them. All of them. Yeah. All of them. You know, it's definitely a great product line. Yeah, man, I just remember being zooted to the point where, like, I remember you kind of, like, just staring into the crowd.
Yeah, I was zooted. Yo, one thing about dabs, you do too many. They're just like, it's like you don't need Adderall. It's just like you're wired. You're just, like a fucking owl.
Like, listen, I'm a lifer. I've been smoking longer than I haven't. Yeah. I had to leave the room because I thought I was gonna have a panic attack.
Yeah, and then no EAC in there too.
You know. But yeah, man. So talk to me. So like, just a brief story of like where you're from, what you're about. Since this is a cannabis themed show, ultimately my goal is to get a sense of your cannabis story, both personally and professionally. So tell us about that.
Oh yeah. So. Born and raised Dorchester, Mass.
Let's go. The dot.
Dorchester. Lived on Lucerne, Columbia Road, Blue Ave, you name it. Just all through the hood of Dorchester.
Sure.
I was blessed enough to go to a boarding school out in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Okay. That's where I got into my cannabis. 8 years in Vermont. Yeah, you nothing else to do.
8 years in the boarding school?
Years. Well, not boarding school. I did. Okay. Every time I say that, people always think, damn, this is 8 years in boarding school? Like, you're a stupid motherfucker. But I did 4 years boarding school, then 4 years college. Okay. So I just knew I had to stay in Vermont, though, to like finish any type of school. Sure. Especially coming from the inner city of Boston, Dorchester. Sure. You know how the Boston public school system is. Don't learn shit. Yeah. So... I was blessed enough to go to boarding school out there, so I was just out there. I really got into cannabis, I would say freshman year of college. Okay. I just knew.
So you're a late bloomer.
Late bloomer, yeah, because I actually was getting drug tested in college. Or in high school, sorry.
Because you're an athlete.
Because you're an athlete, yes. So we had to, like, smoke, like, off tests. Like, so if we got tested this day, we're like, all right, we got to smoke this weekend because we know we got to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So that's how we would smoke weed. So it was sparing. It was like, I probably smoke once or twice a quarter. It sucked. But when I got to college, forget about it. I became the biggest pothead in the world. I remember skipping class just to go do bong hits in my room. I would be late to basketball practice.
Really?
I would be zooted in practice. My coach actually knew we were getting high. So at one point when we were at practice, he's like, we're going to start drug testing you guys. And I was just like, oh, shit.
What was the appeal, would you say, to cannabis?
I just liked how it made me feel. Like, I drank... But I didn't like how it made me feel after. Yeah. Like, you'd be sick, hungover. Sure. Did other hard drugs. Sure. But you don't want to go down that route. You end up not long term. But I just knew, like, smoking cannabis, it's like, that anxiety, that depression, all that went away.
Okay, so it was more of like it was a form of self-care for you.
Self-care, yeah. Especially being in fucking rural Vermont. Like,
being a brother in Vermont must be interesting.
It was very interesting. Shout out to Bernie Sanders, too.
Shout out to Bernie, Big Bernie.
Yeah, so I just loved it, and I've never felt any way with any other drug. It's just like it just made me feel better, relaxed. So that's what I loved about it. So fast forward, do that. I'm just gonna skip to the point. So I was in college for hospitality and tourism management.
Okay.
I just wanted to get a degree. I didn't give a fuck what I majored in. If
Sure.
they could major in weed at the time, I went to school for that.
Sure.
Luckily, they're starting to do that now. You could do that. You could go to school for weed. I wish they had that back then. But so after that, I was working front desk for 7 years just because I thought I had to use my degree, right?
Sure.
So I was doing hospitality, hated it, miserable. That's when cannabis was becoming legal.
Sure.
So about around 2017, 2018, I started working as a bud tender at Netta.
Shout out to Netta.
Shout out to Netta, Brookline, Northampton, and Franklin, 3 locations. Shout out to them. That's where I got started, and I'm very grateful. All the people I've met there have like spread their wings out through this industry. Yeah. That's how I know a lot of people.
It was actually my very first dispensary. At the time, I was living in Quincy, and that was the closest one. And I remember in that little line, because they had stanchions in the front, and we would be in this little rap line, and the irony was there was a cop sitting there, and I remember standing next to a guy with a Dare t-shirt, and I was looking at the moment, and I was just like, what is happening right now? But yeah, $60 an eighth, $65 an eighth,
and we were seeing 4,500 people a day.
Easy.
Like, it was wild times. Easy. It was like, I thought hospitality was hard. That shit was harder.
Easy.
So on top of that, you had to know about weed. That's why I recommend anyone getting into cannabis, start as a bud tender. You learn so much, and especially in a newer market like where Mass was at the time, you just talk with so many people. You're learning on the job.
Borderline scientists.
No one know what the fuck they're doing, especially now. Still to this day, a lot of people don't know what they're doing. But at that time, no one really knew what they were doing. So it was just very overwhelming. I was checking out myself 200, 300 people a day. Wow. So that's like, oh, you want this eighth? What does this do? Indica sativa. I got so tired of that shit.
1,000 interactions a week.
Yeah, it was fucking ridiculous. Then on top of that, I was going to I was still going to my hotel job. I switched my shift to overnight.
Okay.
And then it was miserable. I was getting 3-4 hours a sleep. I was miserable as hell. But it all paid off because after the bud tender, I was doing that for about 3 years, 2-3 years, and then I wanted ready for the next step. There was a lot that happened during those 3 years. We had COVID that happened. But we were still cranking out numbers. Shit was crazy. Still 600,000 people during COVID.
Transactions a day?
All online orders. Yeah, we had like 12 people working at that month.
And on average, would you say at transactions per person, like on average?
I would say at least 100. At that time too, because everyone was just at home. So at least $100.
Money handled.
But it was miserable because we only had we understaffed like a motherfucker because everyone was getting that money. I took part in that too. But that was crazy. So we were still working. It was ridiculous. Then after COVID happened, everything. By then there was so much competition. Curaleaf wasn't the big dog anymore. I would love to see Curaleaf numbers now versus back then. Obviously that. Drastically.
So you went from Netta to Curaleaf.
Yep, Curaleaf. So
how'd that transition happen?
With COVID and everything, that's what happened. I was just looking for the next step. I knew I didn't want to.
So you just applied and they did. Okay.
Luckily, it was one of those things too. Like I didn't even know what Curaleaf was. Even when I interviewed, I was like, "What the fuck is Curaleaf?" I
didn't either.
Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck Curaleaf was. Boy, did I find out what Curaleaf was when I started the job. So Vince Bonina, shout out to Vince.
Big shout out to Vince.
Vince is a good dude. He's been like my biggest support mentor in this whole industry. So shout out to Vince and Curaleaf. So then he took a chance on me because it's like at that time I was in COVID mode. Like my hair was grown out, big fro.
Oh, you remember that, bro?
I was about to lock up too. I'm about to grow my shit out now. But I was about to lock up. My face was crazy because he was wearing the mask and shit. So my shit was all broken out. So I was like, I was winging that whole interview, but just me and Vince connected. Yeah. And I was just real. Like I was just real as hell.
That's what I love about this industry.
I was just being myself. Yeah. And then it waited it took a while to get hear back from them. I didn't even think they were gonna hire me. I thought they ghosted me. Yeah. And then like a month later, he finally got back to me. He was like, "Oh, we're ready to hire you." And I was like, "Fuck it." Like I didn't even know what the offer was, but I just knew whatever offer came through, I was gonna sign because I was like, "This is the next step I need to get."
Exactly.
So
what was the role?
Account manager.
Okay.
I didn't even know what the hell that was. I was just like, whatever. Gets me out of the dispensary. So I applied for that. And man, got the job, and man, it was just off to the races from there. It was such a crazy experience.
Why so?
Just because at that time, that's when all the negativity, I would say, about Curaleaf came out with all the Russian-owned business.
Give us the highlights.
Like, I would say, like, the Russian-owned business, like...
Is it Russian-owned?
It's not Russian-owned. Like, there's, like...
let me find out, Curaleaf.
I'll let people do their research, but that's what they were saying. But it was a big MSO at the time. There was a lot of negativity. We don't support like social equity. We don't support home grows, things like that. So thinking about that, like you're dealing with all the drama and you still have to go out in these streets. Still got to make sure. So my whole strategy at that time was just go out and just be myself and just connect with people. I used my hospitality background to go out there. And I think a lot of people should do that too. I know we want to make sales. I know we need to hit targets and numbers, but just go out and just be a person for one. Like introduce.
Well, people do business with people they like, right?
Exactly. So you got to, and that's what I was doing. Like I could have a lot of people come on here to tell you the story. Like one person in particular, I remember going to Elevated Roots. My boy Raul.
Where's that?
That's in Kingston.
Okay.
They also got a spot in Halifax as well too.
Shout out to Elevated Roots.
Shout out to Elevated Roots. Shout out to my boy Raul. Cause I remember like I would show up there and you just get that. Nope, he's not here. And then like fuck, okay.
Yeah.
Go the second time. Nope, he's not here. He's in a meeting. Okay.
There's a lot of that.
There's a lot of that.
I've done some similar work. Yeah.
Instead of feeling defeated, I was like, all right, whatever. Let me just talk to his staff. Like I just talk to the staff, bartender, maybe do a little love drop, whatever.
Sure.
And then like the third time you show up, I actually might bump into him, and he's like, damn, all right. We have no meeting set up, but I like your perseverance. And then that's how it starts, and the rest is history from there. And that actually, Raul has been like one of my best friends in this industry to this day. Shout out to them again. But it's just like stuff like that, just showing up, and that perseverance of just showing up.
Sure.
That get you there. So, but it's a lot of that, especially at that account manager job. And I was also responsible, not just sales. I was supposed to be responsible for pop-ups. So
you're a field rep /
that's
sales rep. So it was really a hybrid position.
Yeah. So they could just get, it was wild. And I remember doing pop-ups.
Sounds like they were milking you, bro. Pause.
There was milking me. Thank you for saying pause. But they were definitely milking me. But at the same time, I was just so hungry at that time. And I honestly needed that experience too.
Sure.
I was getting that pop-up experience. But like after your first pop-up, you know what the fuck you're talking about. So that account manager job was crazy. It was brutal.
So not only did they just throw on a bunch of, like your workload was insane, you also had to fight with the climate as far as how people felt about Curaleaf.
Especially being MSO too, especially now. Like
so explain what MSO is for those who don't know.
Multi-state operator.
Okay.
So if you have more than one.
Like a Cookies or something
Cookies,
like that. Yep,
Jungle Boys, all those guys, those
Sure.
MSOs, Cresco.
Sure.
So yeah, you already get that stigma again. That's strike one. You're MSO. So then now I keep run out of hand. Like how many strikes you have with all the other noises coming out about Curaleaf.
Sure.
So it's like just imagine going to all that, and then you still got to go out and sell. So that was just a wild time. But then that account manager role, for like first 3-4 months, it was cool because it's like, all right, I have time for pop-ups.
Sure.
But when you start getting business, and you got to start building orders and all this other stuff, you can't do pop-ups. So then like after like 8 months, I was fortunate enough I got promoted to account executive.
Okay.
So I could just focus on sales, which was awesome. And it was off to the races. We were doing a crazy amount of numbers. We were actually doing so well that production couldn't keep up what we were selling. Which is crazy. And if you're running out to that issue in this market right now.
Is that a good problem to have in this?
I would say it's a good problem to have because it's like you have a high demand in your product.
Yeah.
But it also could be that people are just slow at packaging. Like you could make a one case of something like, oh, I'm sold out.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So you could use it that way too.
Sure.
But we were putting up crazy numbers. We were putting up Wilt Chamberlain numbers at one point.
Okay.
But then
that's a bold statement.
Yeah, it was a bold statement. I'll let the other guys get into their numbers. I don't like talking numbers and all that stuff.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
But we were putting up Wilt Chamberlain, but then we ran into that production issue. So then after that, it was just a grind, especially going through that headache. And then after about 2 years or so, I was like, all right, ready for the next challenge.
Okay.
One thing I don't like doing, I don't like getting like complacent in life. I don't like, just treading water.
Sure.
At Curaleaf, it was like to that point, like I just felt like I reached my peak. I maxed out there, like everything I could do, all my business, I could just pick up a phone. Like everyone would like that, right? Like,
well, you're an athlete.
Exactly.
Like your whole existence as an athlete is to get better, get 1% better every single day.
So like that's what I just felt like I hit a wall at Curaleaf. Like I could just work from I go to Equinox. Shout out to Equinox as well.
Shout out to Equinox.
I can just work at Equinox, pick up my phone, be like, oh, you gonna put this order in, this reorder? But that shit gets boring.
Yeah, but
like,
that's not what the greats do.
Yeah, it gets boring. So I was like, all right, what's my next challenge? So I heard about Pedal Fast. And one of my good friends worked there at the time. He was doing field marketing for them. So I heard about them, and I was like, their brand made sense at the time. Their whole motto was, we're going to take on brands, help them grow, help grow their brand. We'll do their marketing for them. We'll do their sales. So it's like, oh, that seems right.
It's like a growth hacking agency almost.
So I was like, oh, okay. That sounds about right, because that's what basically I was doing at Curaleaf. How many brands we had? Select, Grassroots, Be Noble,
Squeeze, all that.
Squeeze, and we're missing like 5 still. So I was like, all right, what's next? So I accepted a position to be a key account specialist for Pedal Fast.
What does that mean?
just focus on sales for them. Basically, the brands we took on. I was responsible for getting numbers and sales for them.
Actually, does cannabis not like to use the term sales manager?
Yeah, I don't know why. Like,
interesting.
They use an account executive. They don't like using sales for some reason.
Okay,
because I think because they want you to wear multiple hats. Like that's why they do it.
Insane.
It's a setup.
Insane.
So I was at Pedal Fest. That didn't last long. They ended up pulling out of the state, unfortunately. But how many brands have pulled out of the state since we got into cannabis? You know.
So what's one of the more major causes for that? Would you say?
I would say like just not getting brands that could drive revenue. That could be one of the causes.
Just not enough sales.
Having not enough sales for those brands. Just having a bad business model.
Okay.
This is for everyone. This is not just Pedal Fast. Just like because there's so many brands that failed and pulled out.
Sure.
Because you just come in thinking like we could just take over. Like just a takeover. But Massachusetts is such a unique market where there's a lot of price compression in this market. Okay. There's so many brands. Yeah. There's dispensaries opening up every day. Exactly. Last time I checked, there was like 340 dispensaries.
340.
Yeah, and that could be up now. That could be up now. They could be down now because places are closing. So there's a lot of, and then think about that. That's that many dispensaries. That doesn't even tell you how many. I don't even know how many vendors and brands there are in the state.
Insane.
I stopped keeping count. I mean,
it's so saturated,
bro. Like this, sometimes I'm checking menus because that's one thing I do. Even when I'm not in the field, so to say. Like, I still check people's menus. I don't know. That's something I'll probably do till I die.
Yeah.
It's like stuff I used to do at Disney.
Yeah.
Like cleaning up and stuff, like hospitality stuff. Like, I'll probably check cannabis menus till I die. So, even seeing menus, I'm like, what brand is that? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, where do they come from?
So, from your purview, how do brands stand out? How do those brands stand out?
I think brands stand out by being, like, relatable to people and, like, doing, like, great marketing. You really do need great marketing to stand out from people.
Sure.
I lost counts brands I've seen. Like I'm like, you posted that? Like you really posted that on Instagram?
Really?
Like, and it's like someone could have done a better Photoshop. There's sometimes like I'm never used Photoshop. I'm not good at editing or anything like that. I probably could learn. Sure. But there's times I've seen people post something on social media and be like, damn, I could have just went on my iPhone and done something better than that.
So that's a brand standard.
Yeah. So it's like I think that's where a lot of people. And then people just think just because it's a cannabis brand, it's going to do well. Wow. And it's not like that anymore. You really have to stick out to people because, again, like how many infused joints are out there now? That's
so many.
Like, you know what I mean? How many are out there now? How many concentrate? Like, there's so many different brands.
And because of the bud has to be grown and mastered here, too. Like a lot of these brands have the same bud.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God.
A lot of buds have the same exact product.
The white labeling out here is crazy. But I get it though. Like I really do get it. I don't shit on it because it's like I get it. If I was owning a business, like that's the best way to get money fast. Like white labeling. Yeah. Rather than me buying.
There's no culture behind that.
Exactly. You don't even know like who you're buying. Like you just want the cheapest price and put it
price
in
potency. If you're, and there's a lot of guys out there. I'm one of those guys on occasions. Like I'm a price potency guy, but like
terps over tack.
Yeah,
terps over tack.
Terps over tack. That's got to be a T-shirt.
Yeah, it really has to be a T-shirt. I should get a patent on that or copyright on that. Terps over tack. I'm really a terp guy.
So you're a connoisseur.
Yeah, I did the Ganjier program too.
What's that?
In California. It's basically I might mess this word up. So like sommelier. Did I say that right? Sommelier. All right,
sommelier.
Yeah.
For cannabis. Yeah. So you know how you go like do it for wine and alcohol? It's basically that for cannabis.
Sure.
So another shout out to Kearley for this too with the grassroots line. They sent us out there to California for a week in Humboldt County. Okay. That's where weed's from. And if you haven't seen Murder Mountain on Netflix, check out Murder Mountain on Netflix.
Okay, I'll check them out.
That's where we were. We were in the trenches like that.
Okay.
But we weren't dealing with all that drama.
Okay.
But it was just such a learning experience, like how like the land meets the plant, like using the land to grow flower.
Sure.
Like you're using the fucking rainwater, the lake water, stream to go into your fucking roots or whatever, to your flower. Sure. The look of the flower, the sun, how it uses. There's just so many like fascinating.
You know what that reminds me of? Like if you were to like go hunt, you'd have more of appreciation for your
exactly.
food.
That's how I felt too. And that's like when I got back, I realized that's when I wanted to make my jump from Curaleaf. It was like, damn, like I really like I love this shit.
It's a growing process.
Like I wanted to get into that. Like I became such a hippie.
Okay.
When I was out there, like I just wanted to live on the land.
Okay.
You just learn so much, and if people could be part of that too. You could do the Ganjier program. They accept people every a month, I feel like.
Okay, so it's like a cohort.
You have to go online
to
check that out.
Sure.
I could be wrong, but I recommend anyone that's looking to learn more about cannabis. Like I'm not even a certified ganjier yet.
Yeah.
Because like I went out there for a week. I still have to go back out there to finish the in-person tests that they have.
So how did your perspective, just where you sit in cannabis, change?
It changed so much because it's like I really appreciated the plant. I appreciated the look of the plant.
It's no longer just
I appreciated the smell of the plant.
So it's no longer just a product anymore.
Exactly. I appreciate the taste of the plant. Like now when I roll my joints, I give that pause. I give that little suck. I give that big pause. I give that little suck. That little because you just want to taste it and be like, damn, this is about to be a good
just
joint.
like wine.
It's like how you go to Dunkin' Donuts and you just look at it and be like, damn, like this is gonna be a shitty ass coffee. Yeah. Kind of like when you roll a joint, you take that hit, you're like, by that one taste, you're like, this is gonna be good or not.
Yeah, you already know what it is.
Like, a lot of these joints, especially infused joints, you get that burn on your throat, that harshness. I hate that.
That dry stuff.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a lot of that out here.
How do you typically smoke?
Joints. I'm a joint guy.
Okay, you don't do blunts. You don't do concentrates.
I like concentrates, but it's like it's not for me. Like the dab stuff, it looks too much like crack for me. Like to be real, I couldn't imagine like going to a party with your homies and
you're freebasing.
I actually remember doing that. I was at a Super Bowl party like 4 years ago, and I got constant. This is when I was big into dab, and I was just putting it in a dab pen. He's like, "What is that?" Like he's like, "That is crack." And I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Bro, this is not crack. This." But it looked like crack. Everyone was high as shit. But
being old school, like you don't want that look.
Exactly. I don't want that. But I'm big on like enhancing my joints. Like I'll put some crumble in my joints, some keef. But it's
like that's waste sometimes.
Yeah, but it enhances it. Get that little rush. I feel like I just get anxiety more off of that shit. But I liked it.
So you've worked at a dispensary.
Yep.
You work at a weed retailer, and you work for a growth agency. From those different perspectives, what did you learn about the industry? What did it change? How did it change your perspective on the industry?
Oof. I learned in this industry, you got to have your best interests. Because it's very easy in this industry to get taken advantage of.
How so?
Like, for example, like you could do this for me. Like, I'm hiring you because I know you could bring this, you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Like, you could bring this, you could bring that. Who you know, especially now with a lot of brands coming out of state, they see someone, they already interview someone that they know have been in the state 4 or 5 years, and they're like, damn, we could get his connections, and then once they get you comfortable, get your connections, then they could like kick you to the curb because it's like
crazy.
So there's a lot of that. You got to really. That's why like I don't blame people for looking out for their best interests in this industry because people take advantage of you.
How do you navigate through that?
You really gotta emotional intelligence gotta be high, honestly.
Okay.
You really gotta ask hard questions. You especially during your interview process gotta ask those hard questions.
What's examples of some hard questions?
Like, what is your plans in this? Like, this is just me thinking off the top of the head.
Sure.
But I'm sure people could think of smarter, better questions. But like, what are your plans in this state? Like how are you gonna judge me in my role? My first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
How do you measure success?
How do you measure success? What are your plans for this state? What is my pay?
Yeah.
That's most importantly.
Sure.
Things like that. But because again, people will take advantage of you, and you really got to watch out for that. Especially now too. There's a lot of desperation out here in this market. A lot of struggling brands, businesses in this market. So yeah.
What are some telltale signs of someone or a company that may be desperate and they're just probably looking for
you get a job offer after the first interview?
Really?
Yeah, like maybe they're eager to hire you, but to me that might be a red flag.
Okay.
Especially now that I think about it, a lot of interviews I had and I've gotten an offer at first, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I didn't take that.
Sure.
I don't want to say the company name, but I just finished 5 interviews with them.
Sure.
And like I feel like out of those 5 interviews, I've talked with multiple people. I could see their organization a little bit.
Sure.
I could see little red flags.
Sure.
I could see some green flags too.
Sure.
But it's just like, it's building that trust.
That's what it is.
Like that's what it is. Relationships. That's what I'm all about. Relationships, and that's what a lot of people should be about in this industry. Relationships.
Yeah.
Like my first relationship, for example, like I was talking about Raul early, Elevated Roots. He opened 2 dispensaries out here.
Is that the guy with blue hair?
No.
Okay.
He's Indian.
Okay. Yeah.
Wears glasses like me.
Okay.
But he just moved to New Jersey this week.
Okay.
So like
shout out Raul.
So he's in New Jersey market now. So now like if I'm in the cannabis next and I go to New Jersey, I already know I got to play.
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's why relationships key. You never know where people end up. Sure. And I think about it too, back to my Netta days. Like, if I was an asshole those 3 years there was days I hated being there. There's days I walked out of that place. Yeah. I'll be real. I can say it now. I don't work there. I walked out of that place. Yeah. But imagine if I was an asshole to those people. There's so many people, like Kyle, for example. Shout out to Kyle.
Big shout out to Kyle.
Shout out to Kyle Nudia, one of my best homies in this industry. He is director of operations at Nudia. He's had definitely a bunch of GM retail roles in the industry. Too, dude. Young brother. He needs to stop working himself. Gotta get that self-care. He's got back from Florida, so shout out to Kyle. But I can't imagine if I was an asshole to him. He wouldn't be calling me. He wouldn't be reaching out to me for anything.
Wouldn't be going to Celtics game. Yeah.
Shout out Celtics too. They better win a
big shout out to the C's.
They better win a fucking ring this year.
You have everything you need. No excuses.
I'm actually not going to another game, to a playoff game. That's
Playoffs are so stressful, bro.
Stressful.
That one year when we went to the finals, bro, I definitely 30% of my grades have come from that.
Yeah, fuck that. But we got to go this year. Like, if we don't win a ring this year, we're never gonna win a fucking ring. Relationships is key. I'm talking about like. Like, again, like I was saying, like that, if I was an asshole to all these people, like I think about all my friends that have spread out and grown their wings, that are in sales, director of retail, inventory. Like, there's so many times I go into a dispensary and I see someone I've known, I worked in that. I'll say at least 25% of the time. Yeah. If I go into a dispensary, it's like, oh, I know you. So imagine if these people didn't fuck with me or like me. Like, but I wasn't the hardest worker I was at Netta, but I knew I was good to people.
Sure. So you were saying, one thing you gotta watch out for are people taking advantage of you. So what are some other things that you've learned from your 3 different roles from Netta, from Pedal Fast, and Curaleaf?
I hate to say it again, but relationships is the number one. I'm gonna say it again because it's that important. Yeah. I would just say just to be a better salesperson and how I presented myself, and how I go out in the field, just routine of my day. Sure. How to be better organized. Sure. I learned I remember when I got to Pedal Fast, like, damn, I forgot what it was, but it was like, damn, why wasn't I doing this when I was at Curaleaf? Sure. So it's like the combination of things. And it's 2 different ways, too, because Curaleaf, you're all worried about just one brand, one
one portfolio, brand,
But fucking Pedal Fast was like, it's like having 8 wives. Yeah. Like you have owners, it was wild.
Separate clients. Separate clients with separate needs.
And exactly. You have a pre-roll brand, you have a flower brand. Sure. We had drinks at the time. Shout out Kelia and High Tide. So it's just like, and then like you're getting sales for this one person, and then the other person's not getting sales.
That's just the nature of business.
Man, I knew I was doing well with my anxiety then, because that shit was a lot.
So let's go back to relationships. How would you recommend kind of garnering and fostering those relationships?
I would say go to events and just don't talk about work. Talk about the industry, but don't try to sell someone some shit. Sure. I feel like that's a lot of reason why people go to events is because it's like, oh, I'm gonna sell you this. When I go to the events, you see me I don't sell shit.
It's being your authentic self.
Yeah, I don't do shit. I don't talk sales. If someone brings up an order or a sale, I'm like, yo, bro, talk to me Monday after this event. Sure. The following Monday, so if it's Tuesday, don't hit me.
That's a good tip.
It's just I just go out there, be myself, be a person, smoke joints. Sure. I remember one time I think it was at that same grassroots events, we was actually having this new kid come and work for Curaleaf, and he said to me, "You smoke at these events?" I was like, hell yeah, I smoke at these events. I'm not saying get incoherent, not know where you're at and all that, but it's I smoke enough to feel good and let people know I'm a person. Sure. And that's where people connect with you, they fuck with you. Sure. So next time you go in looking for and you know what's crazy too, when I was thinking about it too, and people think this might be crazy, I don't really set up calls for one of my sales jobs. I just show up. And that might make people feel some type of way.
As far as not setting up an appointment,
you just show up. I just show up. So maybe now, or when I got to Pedal Fast, I was more setting up meetings. But when I first started, I was never setting up a meeting. I would just show up. It rubs some people the wrong way, but at the same time, it's I was just a go getter. You know what I mean? But that shows your persistence.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the person too. If you have already invested in building rapport with people and relationships, and they just know you for being that guy, then I would imagine people would kind of afford you the leeway of just showing up. If you're just some new guy, cold calling or whatever.
I remember I got banned from a certain dispensary because I was showing up to. He's like, "This is not the way we do business. You gotta start coming here." I was like, "All right," but I felt good because I was like, "They know my name now," and I stopped showing up there, but they know my name. And when I saw them at events, they were like, "Oh, what's up, Cortland?" Like, yeah, so it's cool.
So so this might be a good segue. You know, coming off relationship. So let's talk about like I don't know if I'd want to call it tension, but like this, you know, this line between business and culture, right? How important do you feel like culture is when it comes to the business of cannabis?
Like in mass?
It's in general.
In general? Ooh.
Of course, mass, of course.
Yeah, I think, well, the culture in mass, it's not like, I feel like a lot of people in mass, they make it seem like cannabis is like, yeah, we're getting high, we're smoking, look at us having fun smoking weed. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Like, but I'm more like I'm getting to put like the professional side of cannabis.
Okay.
Like, you know, like come like use it as medicine. Come to a consumption lounge, relax.
Less recreation.
Let's get away from alcohol.
Sure.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love getting high. Sure. The best of them. Sure. But it's not all about just getting high. Sure. It's all about like feeling good, getting off those the over the counter drugs. Sure. Like I gave up alcohol.
Good for you.
Where's my day since shit?
Good for you, bro.
I'm sorry for bringing out my phone.
It's all good, bro. It's all good, bro.
Days since I've been. Oh, and shout out for John Stevens, my man at Cure Leaf. He's the one that got me. I've been 1 year, 6 months, 9 days, 14 hours without alcohol.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah. So, and it's just like, I just think about like how much I respect and love cannabis even more. Because it's like, I know because of cannabis, I don't have to drink alcohol.
It's really magic.
When I go to events, I'm drinking like those Rove shots, the liquid. What is it called? Liquid Death? What is it? No, it's not Liquid Death.
Liquid Death's water.
I gotta look it up. Oh, Loud. Drink Loud. What am I? Shout out Davis and Rove too. Shout them out. Drink Loud. Like stuff like that. It's like you don't need alcohol. Sure. And it's just like that's one thing. Like, yeah, I wish we could do better.
As just
culture, like
as far as places to kind of celebrate or consume. Yeah. Cannabis. I mean, and we have places like the Summit and
we have Summit Lounge. Shout out to Summit Lounge.
Shout out to Summit Lounge.
But we need more.
We need more.
'Cause I'm not trying to drive up to Worcester. Because now I got to drive home high as hell. Yeah. We don't want that.
We don't want that. That would be irresponsible.
Irresponsible as hell. We don't condone any of that.
Yeah, right? Fuck but yeah, but it is cropping up slowly but surely. And what was the name of that place over in, is it Framingham?
Oh, the art studio, Fine Art Seed.
Is it Fire Seed? Fire Seed. Shout out to Fire Seed.
That's where I had my first consumption event at. And I was like, this is my shit right here. I love that place.
I got so high that day. I probably left like... I probably had like shout out to Bailey and Her Highness. I think she's the one who does the foods in her. Yep. Yeah, that's where I did my first, and that's when I knew all.
That's what we need more. That's what we need to be showing more of and marketing more. That will bring an average Joe into cannabis, like showing shit like that.
Well, that's the thing. How do we spill? There are tons of cannabis events happening.
Sorry to cut you off, but if I'm just seeing pictures of motherfuckers high out their mind, doing that 10-30 that, which is cool. We do that too, but it's just like that's not culture. That's not like.
You're not actually participating.
You're a drug addict.
Yeah.
You're a drug addict. Like, stop. Like,
and shout out to Diaspora again, because like I'm starting to see that they're actually allowing, you know, artists from the local scene actually hold events there, and that's cool. You know what I mean? But we definitely need more venues in general that are.
There's a couple downtown. I don't want to say the name because I don't think it's even legal. But I've been to some events in Chinatown.
Okay. All right.
And it was just like, God damn. Like, this is what it should be about.
You got to put me on to some of these places, man.
I got
off camera, of course.
Especially when I know knee cans are right around the corner, so there's going to be plenty of that. But, yeah, we need more of that because it's like, I'm not trying to go to Summit Lounge and, like, just get high out my mind and just sit around a table talking to the same 5 people. Like, I want to get out and bring, like, some culture to it, bring people that maybe they're not into cannabis in there and just, like, have a conversation with them. Like, why am I here versus a bar or a nightclub? Speaking of clubs, like nightclubbing is the biggest waste of adulthood ever. I remember as a kid, I was like, I can't wait to go to the club, popping bottles, sitting on the. So you start popping bottles and been to Miami, been to Vegas. You're like, what the fuck is this? I wish I could get a refund check from all the money I spent on bottles. Just
pissing it away.
Put that on a house right now.
Just pissing it away. You know, and like, let me ask you this: like, what is the likelihood of a fight breaking out at a weed speakeasy versus a bar?
I've never seen one in my life.
Right. That alone.
And I've been to so many of them too, and I've never seen a fight. If anything I always bring this up too. It's like if you bring Bloods and Crips, bring them to a consumption lounge, smoking weed.
That's a fact.
Calm as shit, but if you bring them to a bar, everyone's gonna be shot up.
That's a fact.
Yeah, so
that's
it's
a fact.
Like, that's what cannabis. I've never seen anyone angry, and it's funny. Sometimes I remember one time being high at one of these events, like probably Nikan or something, but you just look around and see like all the brands coming together. The ones that might be like doing like a little sneak diss on Instagram and social media, a little LinkedIn post talking shit about them. But it's like, oh, look at smoking a joint over there. Yeah. Look at MSO over there smoking weed with a small batch, small craft cannabis. Like, it's just funny. And that's what the cannabis is all about. Because if the big guy wins, little guy's going to win. Sure. It's like we all need to stop fighting against each other.
Ecosystem.
I just hate it. It's so stupid. It's like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you because you work for an MSO. Well, I'm not going to talk to you because you work for a small craft farmer. I'm not going to talk to you because you're this. It's stupid as hell.
You're limiting yourself.
You limit yourself, and we all work together. We all work in the same industry. We see all the layoffs happening right now. I'm laid off right now. Yeah. I'm still doing this podcast. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just like you never know what's going to happen in this industry, and we all got to be coming together versus East Coast, West Coast. I like to say it.
Sure. So I think this would be a good segue. So like, you know, you'd mentioned the different events that you took part in, and where has cannabis is taking to a lot of different places, has allowed you to meet a lot of different people. So tell us about some of those experiences.
Oh man, like there's so many people I've met. Like Ricky Williams sticks out to me the most.
Shout out to Big Ricky. Even though he was a Dolphin, shout out.
Yeah, but he would be a Hall of Famer too if he didn't waste. Yeah, they didn't suspend him for fucking weed.
Yeah, for weed.
But like I remember meeting Ricky Williams in Cape Cod, and it was just like he's a regular dude. Yeah. First time we met, we smoked a half ounce of weed together.
Half an ounce?
Yeah, we had.
Boy, can smoke, huh?
I forgot whose event was that. The Old Pal? Oh, Tilt Holden's party.
Yeah.
I got like a signed helmet. I have so many pictures with Ricky Williams.
Shout out to Gina.
Shout out to all of them. Yeah. But I have so many pictures with Ricky Williams. Like I can make a whole.
I've seen him on Instagram.
Yeah. He's a good dude. Yeah. So meet him. I met Calvin Johnson. Shout out to Megatron. Him and Primitive Crew. Met him first time I met him was at Nikan 2 years ago. Then went to sitting at a couple of Primitive events. Gary Payton. Shout out Gary Payton.
The actual Gary Payton.
Yeah, met him at Elevated Roots at Raul's 420 party. Rick Ross was there, not the rapper. The real Rick Ross that sold actual dope, cocaine, and all that. Met him. And then many more I hope to meet in cannabis, man. It's just crazy. And you know, it's funny. I was watching All-Star Weekend, and Charles Barkley was saying, it's like, I can't believe like where this game of basketball is taking me, like a ball. And it's like, I can't believe like where the fucking cannabis plant is taking me and people I've met. And it's like, it's taking me all over the place. Like during my time when I was at Curaleaf, I was out in Vegas, was down in Jersey, went to Cali for the Gangier program, pedal fast, learning a lot there. Like even Netta, like just being all over the place and doing different opportunities so it's just crazy where a plant could take you. And I'm just grateful to be in the industry. I don't know where it's going to take me, ready for my next move, but just hoping it keeps taking me places, you know?
And I think that's a good place to end it. So you guys heard here, my man Cortland over here, who wherever situation that he's in is going to bring value, is looking for work. Yes. So definitely reach out to him.
I'll be employed, so I ain't worried about that. I like this part right now. It's like good because just going balls to the wall for 4 years. Sure. And I got to put this out here too, because one thing about me, I'm big on self-care and your body and your mind. Because once I started taking care of my mind and body first, I know everyone in this fucking industry wants to go balls to the wall, sales this, but you got to take care of that mind and body first. Once you take care of that, you'll get those sales. You start hitting that quota. You start hitting all those goals you want. But take care of that mind and body first, especially this industry where we just balls to the wall work. Yeah. And just, so take care.
So you heard it here. Take care of that mind and body.
Self-care is king, man.
And that bag will come.
And that bag will come.
Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for coming by.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yo, man, that was a great episode.